What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a very special live edition of DiabloCast. As always, I am your host, Dennis Force Duhamel, and with me, as always, we have got Kevin Sixen Carlino. Kevin, how are you today?
I'm not that bad. How's everybody else? How are you?
Everyone else. I think it's only just us two, unless you're talking to my cats. So,
hey.
doing well, and it's certainly an exciting week, I would have to say. There's been quite a bit going on. Most importantly, the press and the media getting into the beta and all the coverage that has come along with that. Also, just recently announced the delay of Diablo 3 being pushed back to early 2012. We've got some pretty big upcoming changes to the Demon Hunter, Wizard, and Witch Doctor, and then a very large update on the official Diablo 3 community site, being the item page update and everything that goes along with that. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and start things out with our very first topic here, which is going to be the beta and the press and media getting in. All right, so I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast right now, you're already well aware of the fact that press and beta, the press and media have been let in to the Diablo 3 beta, and this was actually announced on September 20th. There was a post right up on the Blizzard community site, just kind of letting everybody know what was going on. And, you know, there's actually a little bit of confusion, Kevin, and I'd like to talk about this just for a quick moment, if we could. People were a little confused as to the difference between this and the start of the closed beta, at which point, you know, people would be getting their opt-in invites. And as far as I can tell right now, I've heard rumors of a few people getting in, but overall it seems like that's not occurring right now. Is that correct? Have you heard much about this, or?
Well, this is the closed beta. The difference is, I'm assuming they only did one wave just for press and any other friends and family that needs to get in. But otherwise, yeah, I'm right there with you. I haven't heard of anybody else. I haven't heard of any non-press, that have gotten in yet. So, I'm guessing that they just want to test stability out a little bit more. I mean, it didn't really make sense for friends and family, for press not to be included in the friends and family, just because, I mean, we were still reporting on everything, and I mean, the only difference was that we weren't using our own footage.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard of anybody else non-press getting in.
Right. It was an interesting situation. The whole friends and family situation to begin with was very interesting, because we have mentioned this in a prior podcast that this was the only friends and family that Blizzard has done in which there was no NDA. In the past, any of the friends and families for the prior projects, there were NDAs under that, and then you would see press and media people getting in, at which point, you know, an NDA would be lifted so that coverage could go out. But it was just an interesting scenario and an interesting dynamic. But it is nice that we finally have, you know, official gaming sites and Diablo fan sites and YouTube channels finally doing some full head-on coverage. And I've been busting my ass pumping out content, and I know Diablo Fans has been doing a great job of writing some articles. You guys have been pretty busy since the start of this, huh?
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed because after everybody's already released a bunch of footage, there really just isn't that much more to talk about. Kind of sucks, kind of messed with our plans, but I mean, it's really not that big of a deal just because of the new content that Blizzard's been doing. For example, the item store stuff, or not the item store, sorry, the item database site stuff that they just released, which kind of hinted towards a couple more things that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So we aren't necessarily reporting much in the beta. Like Tyler he just posted up his play experiences the other day of his first playthrough. But otherwise, I mean, yeah, it's cool to see how he felt and what decisions he made while he was playing. But a lot of people are like, well, you know, this isn't really new. This is kind of old. We've been, you know, we know about this. We've been watching people play for the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. So I don't know, but the beta itself being here has brought about new changes and new content, which we can report on.
Right. I mean, again, overall, it's an awesome situation, and I think it's important for people in the public to note, you know, people who are waiting and anticipating, you know, trying to get their opt-in invites, that it will be coming out in waves, and I'm fairly positive that they can look forward to, you know, key giveaways at some point in the near future from either, you know, Diablo fans or myself or both. I think that's something that could very well be in the works, and I'm actually trying to load up right now the beta, but it's kind of crapping out on me. I don't know if the beta servers are dying or what, but But no,
I'm on. Wait for you, buddy.
yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what the problem is with this? It's no big deal. We'll figure it out sooner or later. So yeah, the start of the beta, definitely pretty interesting, and really happy to be underway and be producing content. Now, I think something else that we could talk about momentarily too is, with the very small amount of content in the beta, there is only so much to cover, and we're trying to go in depth and trying to go in depth and cover as much as possible. Have you found anything in your playthrough that we haven't seen much yet, that people haven't really been covering, that you're looking forward to bringing out there, like trying to go more in depth into any specific aspects of the beta?
Well, some of the things that I would like to note, just a couple of things that I've been trying. Like, for example, I hit the max level with the Artisan, and that was 4 4/5, and I suppose I can get into that right now. Basically, you guys are probably wondering how I got that 4/5. So when you train your Artisan, each time you use a Tome of Training, it levels his experience bar only 1/5 of the way. So yes, it takes 5 training. Or you have to train him 5 times in order to level up once. In order to hit the last 5th to get to level 5, you need to have materials that come specifically from salvaging nightmare items, which means that items are unique per difficulty, which, yes, we did know, but it also means that it's just a brand new item set, which I'm kind of curious. I wonder if normal items are going to drop in nightmare and so on, and so on for the rest of the game, just because they have to be able to figure out what items are normal items and what items are nightmare items in order to level up your Artisan some.
Mm-hmm.
And I also spent a couple hours the last couple of days trying to hit max level with my follower, which happens to be the same level as you. So follower's max level is 13. In case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, no. So it's again, we're going to be trying to go as in depth as possible with whatever is available, and we are hoping for additional content to eventually be patched in, and as such, there will be more for us to cover. That's the end goal, anyways. That's our
Right.
That's our hopeful plan. That's just one of those things. Well, we'll have to see what they eventually end up doing, and that's actually going to bring us right into our next major topic, which is the fact that the release date has been pushed back. It looks like 2011 is no longer in the works. We are unfortunately looking at a 2012 release date. This was actually just recently announced earlier today. Mike Morheim posted up on the official Blizzard site stating that 2011 was a little too soon. Looks like early 2012 is going to be the pushback, and with that extension and with that delay for the release, that also means at the same time that the beta is going to be longer. So we can look forward to a longer beta and hopefully, again, maybe possibly the patch into more content. How do you feel about this pushback, Kevin? Do you think that this is something that we expected, or do you think this is kind of out of left field and it took you by surprise?
Well, I've got a couple of things about this. I want to say 2 years ago, I made a bet with Tyler and the original news manager, wiki manager, who is actually Frozen Dragon. He's been on the podcast before, and then the moderator manager over at Diablo Fans. We were just having a little meeting between the couple of us, and I was estimating a 2012 release date, so they all owe me cookies. But in all seriousness, I don't really feel like this is that big of a deal. You guys are probably going to hate me, and I'm just going to wait a second or two before I go on. Okay, so why is this not a big deal? They were originally shooting for a late December release. So that puts us, let's say, mid-December. Let's just leave it at that, mid-December. December 16th, let's say that. Okay? Got pushed back to early 2012. Now, I suppose early 2012 would be Q1. So, yeah, I guess technically it's a 4-month window right there, but technically it's only been pushed back, 2, 3, 4 weeks? They're pushing for late December, and now it's just early 2012.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks is early 2012, technically. Now, we're also going to hear the official release date, and they're going to announce when pre-orders are up whenever they have that information ready. So it's not like it's going to be a complete surprise to us. Probably about halfway through the beta, whatever halfway is, they're just going to say, okay, the official release date is XYZ, and you can now start pre-ordering, and Collector's Edition is this, this, and this, and start pre-ordering from these sites, and you can get $10 off and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, it's not like it's just going to be they're just going to stop the beta one day and say, oh, by the way, we're releasing the game tomorrow. That's not going to happen. They're going to keep us in the loop. I guess as much in the loop as the public should be, I suppose, but I don't know. I don't really think it's that big of a deal. It really... we've been waiting 10 years another 2 weeks isn't going to kill us that much.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what early 2012 ends up being. We're assuming that it's going to be the first quarter, but I mean, it could very well be delayed even further than that.
Yeah.
It's certainly possible. But I mean, hoping, if that's the hope, and we're thinking, okay, well, let's say that they do push it back, then you're right. When they initially had planned was mid to late December, then this really won't be that much longer, and this is interesting because it comes off the heels of the recent announcement that the Demon Hunter resource was going to be reworked and that they were planning an upcoming change to it. Do you think that has anything to do with the decision to push this back? Because I know a lot of people are in that thought process that, hey, this is because the Demon Hunter resource sucks. Like, what the hell, Blizzard?
No, I mean, I really don't think so. I guess it could potentially be part of the reason, but I don't think it's the sole reason. Not only has the Demon Hunter changed, I mean, I guess we're gonna get into this in a little bit also, but they've changed a lot of the mechanics for all of the classes, and they've changed just about every single skill in the game to be weapon damage, to scale based on weapons as opposed to level. So I mean, yes, these are some pretty major changes, but from what I understand, they have a separate release game client than they do beta client. So we're not gonna necessarily see all the bugs and all the kinks and all the changes ironed out in this beta client. They're just going to be releasing, or they're going to be patching the release client and saying, okay, yes, this bug is fixed for the release, and then leave it at that. Things that they actually need us to test in the beta, for example, maybe these skill changes are going to make it into the beta so they could see us test it, or maybe they feel like they hit the nail on the head this time and they don't need us to test this. They're not going to show those off in the beta. Where was I going with this?
We were just talking about recent changes and
recent changes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of hard to say because it's a combination of a lot of things, and we might as well just jump right into it because there's a lot of stuff. They removed 2 gems from the game, Sapphire and Diamond. They changed the runestone system from what it's been all this time, where you place a rune in an item and that's it, and you can hot swap runes as well, to the system that Jay Wilson was telling us about at the press event. Now you have unattuned runes and attuned runes, and these attuned runes are just the other 5 rune types that you could potentially have, and they stick with that particular skill after you place it in. So instead of having a level 7, obsidian rune, now I pick up a level 7 unattuned rune. I place that in, let's say, electrocute. And now I have a level 7 X rune of Y. So X is going to be the type of rune, so it'll randomly roll obsidian, golden, alabaster, and the other couple, and it also randomly roll an affix. Now the affix, I guess I'm just assuming that they did because they haven't really given us any confirmation or further information on the systems. I'm just basing this off of assumptions from the item database website that they just threw up. However, there is the attuned rune there, so I mean it's safe to say the only thing that I'm guessing on is the affix, but they seemed pretty adamant about wanting to do that just because that's the whole thing about Diablo, farming for better gear. So you have to farm for better runes and better affixes on these runes. It just fits within Diablo. At least that's how they feel. Wasn't really a big fan of it because I would prefer to just get 35 runes, 7 of, or what is it? 6 of 30 runes, sorry. 6 of each rune type, and then 5, because we can have
the 5 different runes and 6 of each type for the 6.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I was flipping it up. Vice versa.
Kevin's racking his brain here.
Yeah.
And I actually do have up the Diablo Fans article, which you guys talk about the addition of the item page and specifically looking right now at the unattuned rune system. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting that we reported on this after the media event in the middle of the summer, in which Jay Wilson had expressed that this is a direction they were considering. And it looks like they have decided after their testing that they're really comfortable with doing this, and this is what they're going to go with. Now, I suppose I have the same concern as I did in the past, just because I'm envisioning how infuriating it is going to be. I don't think people maybe obviously a portion of the people realize this, but it's very important for you to be aware of how difficult getting a level 7 rune is going to be. These things will not be dropping often, and you're not going to just be overabounded with these. They're very rare. They're intended to be rare. My frustration is the fact that if I get a level 7 unattuned rune, and let's say I put it into Bash, and I want the Bash rune with the Crimson effect, but all this work towards getting the level 7 rune, I attune it to a Bash, and all of a sudden I get an Indigo rune, and now it's infused to Bash, and I can't do anything about it. Like, how many thousands? I mean, it's even potentially money. How much money did I spend on a level 7 rune, and then I put it into a skill to get a desired effect, but because it's randomized, because when I put an unattuned rune into a skill, I don't know which rune it's going to become. Now I'm screwed, and I have to somehow get another level 7 rune and try it again. And you know what? I mean, there's the potential that I could go through 30 level 7 runes and never get the desired effect that I want for my spell. That's a very frustrating situation for me.
And not only that, but let's say you get a rune that you didn't want. Let's say you're shooting for Crimson and you get Indigo, and there's an affix on it that's horrible. Now you can't even sell it on the auction house. So now you're just stuck with a crappy rune that you have nothing to do with. And you can't even pop it into another skill because, again, it's attuned specifically to Bash.
I guess I would say that the one kind of redeeming fact is that with the auction house and with the huge amount of trading that will go on now, we have the potential to pick up other people's attuned runes that maybe they didn't want. So that is a potential. And I did decide to pull up the screen here just to show you guys as an example. So we have an unattuned rune. We stick it into Bash. Say we've spent so much time and effort trying to get this level 7 rune. We had to, go through all these lengths. It took forever. We finally get this level 7 unattuned rune. I stick it into Bash. And let's say I want as I mentioned, the Crimson rune effect, which is adds 7 reverberation, causes 18% weapon damage per strike. I don't think I'd actually want that. But let's pretend I wanted that out of my level 7 unattuned rune. I put it into Bash, and it gives me, it gives me Unleash, the golden runestone, to generate 7 fury per attack. Now that unattuned rune is stuck to that runestone, to that skill, and that's it. One thing, though, one caveat to maybe cut back on all of the bitching and crying and moaning that we just did, is that they have discussed potentially having an option to clear the unattuned runestones. Be it, you go to, say, the Mystic, and for X amount of materials or gold, she'll clear the runestone, make it unattuned again, and you can try it one more time. As long as that's in place, I can live with that. It becomes a little less terrible as long as that's in place.
I feel like if they do go with this system, I'm really hoping that they do that, because not only will it be awesome to be able to reroll our items, but it's also going to be another gold dump. Now, from what I've seen in the beta, coming across gold is pretty damn easy. I mean, I think I've got 30 grand right now just chilling, and I completely leveled up my artisan, which costs gold. I crafted the best items that I could potentially craft for my follower, who's now maxed out. I crafted and found the best items for my wizard, so I'm pretty baller right now. And not only that, but I also bought the first 2 pages of my stash, and I still have 30,000 left over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I personally think that we really need some more gold dumps. Of course, getting the stash is going to be pretty tricky, because to purchase the first 14 for the 3rd page is 50,000, and then it's another 2,500 for each set of 14. So, for page 3, it's 50,000 plus 4 times 2,500. So it's 60,000 just to purchase page 3.
Right. And
which is a pretty decent amount.
I think the other thing too, when we're talking about gold sinks, I mean, look, the auction house. I mean, Jesus, you know what I mean?
Here, let me see if this item's still up here. I'm looking up just for a better item, potentially for my wizard. The thing I like about it is that my item right now, it has plus a couple percent, like maybe 10% damage for wizards, as well as plus something like 5 cast rate, which I really like, being able to cast pretty quick. And then last night I just thought, hey, what the hell? Check the auction house. Somebody was selling a really sick wand. It was plus 18% damage, plus 35% wizard damage, and then no cast rate. But he was selling it for 30,000. So I would have spent all my money just on this wand, which I was really thinking about, because I mean, it's like plus 53 or something like that percent. Or am I no, yeah. Actually, I think that it is. Plus 53% damage is what I would have gotten from this. The only problem with that is I wouldn't have had my cast rate, which right now isn't that I prefer cast rate just so I can blow through everything quicker. I mean, it's not like I have to hit these guys more than once. I don't really need the additional damage. But again, back to the point you were trying to make was, holy crap, people are selling items like it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, and yeah, now the item's gone. So that guy just made 30,000 off of just a random drop he found in the first third of Act 1.
Right. I mean, it's the point being, of course, that, you know, when we're thinking about Diablo 3 and we're thinking about gold sinks, the auction house is clearly a huge place. And people can go back and they say, no one's going to use the gold auction house. People will certainly use it. And also acquiring gold's going to be for sale. You'll be able to sell gold as well. So I think that the gold itself will take care of itself. Someone will find a use for it one way or another, be it going on the auction house and spending the 20, 30, 40, 50, 100,000 gold, however much we're looking at for a ceiling here eventually for some of these high-end items. People will dump their gold into that, but also crafting. And I did mention it momentarily, but I know you talked about, okay, you were able to max out the artisan, and maybe that's not the world's most difficult thing, but even when you're maxed out, we're making the gear, which costs gold. Not only the materials, but of course we're dumping gold into making this gear as well. And you can say, all right, well, I make one piece of gear, so what? I lose a little bit of gold, but it's not necessarily going to give you those attributes that you want. And I think that's a major thing to consider. That that by itself is a gold up. As long as those high end items have the potential of being really good, people will remake time and time again until they get the perfect piece of gear that they want. And that's a lot of gold being thrown out the window right there as well. So,
yep, that's very true. I mean, crafting in this game is pretty awesome, actually, just because you can potentially craft really nice items. Because crafting items also has random attributes. For example, and I guess you're right, something's wrong with the servers because I can't get into a game. I was going to look up an example, but I guess I'll just have to remember off the top of my head. I think a pair of pants that I've been trying to craft for my wizard added, it was like 40-something armor, and then plus cast rate, and then plus 2 random attributes. And these random attributes, or random properties, sorry, could be anything from faster cast rate and magic find to damage and gold find, or something along those lines. I mean, it's pretty cool that crafting items also has random attributes, although I guess Diablo 2 is the same way, but at least we kind of have an idea of what it is that we're going to be getting. And I guess while we're on this subject, I did notice that you can craft a set. And the only set I believe that's craftable is Deckard Cain's set, or I think it's Cain's Honor or something along those lines.
Yeah, and
I was just throwing that out there.
Yeah, and these are the kind of things that people are definitely going to be throwing money into. So we definitely have kind of gone off on a huge tangent. I want to try to get back on the horse and get a little more focused here. I think the next big thing that we can talk about, since we're along those lines right now, is the addition of the item store, which the item I
did the same thing before. Don't worry about it.
The item page that just came through here on the official community site. Now, if you just go ahead and head on over to Diablo3.com and go under the game section, and then you'll have the option of checking out the items. And is this a full extensive list? Do we know if this is all encompassing right now, or?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I don't really know. I mean, I don't. It's hard because it doesn't look like there's all that many items.
I mean, there's definitely a fair amount of. I saw the various different tiers, the visual tiers that are available, and I think the other important thing too is that these are the basic outlines of things, and then we're looking at everything being randomized off of this.
Right, I believe everything can have an affix and or a prefix. Actually, I'm not so sure about legendary items, and I've got a couple Griswold's Edges in my stash that I can't even look at right now.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of hard to say. I just don't feel like there's all that many items.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the base items which will be randomized. For example, I just went straight into Helms, and I took a look at the leather hood. I mean, there can be 10 million different types of leather hoods, just based on all the randomization. So I think this is actually going to be, now with a little further thought, I think this is going to be a full all-encompassing list of what they at least initially plan to have. And we're looking at the different visual tiers right now, and I actually made a video earlier in the day outlining. I took the basic set, basically combination of items that I can make with the blacksmith. And I went ahead and I crafted each piece of it, and I tried it on the various different classes. And this is a perfect example of how, as you progress in tiers, there's a distinct visual difference between all of the classes there. And I really like that as well. I think that's a very neat thing that they decided to do with the game. How about you, Kevin?
Sorry. No, I'm still looking at this, trying to figure this out, because I don't know, that really just blew my mind. I click on amulets, and there's like 20 items, and they just say amulet.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just the base. You know what I mean? This is the base general thing, and then we're just looking at a whole bunch of randomized stats on top of it.
While looking at it, I have to throw this in there. I just see one that's called the Murlocket, and it's a Murloc's face, and it's an amulet. That's the sickest thing I've ever seen in the entire world.
It's funny. Yeah, so we have these the basic things, and starting to get into the magic helms right now. You can see one of the most basic, the Apprentice Leather Hood, and then yes, there's that +1 to 5 to all attributes, and that's randomized within that range. And then the +1 random property can be absolutely anything as well. And again, this is what Diablo is. This is how gear in Diablo works. It's all randomized, and even the set items, I'm pretty certain most of them have a lot of random attributes attached to them as well, so nothing is kind of set in stone or guaranteed when it comes to that.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, for example, one of these rare helms I'm looking at, Illustrious Casque, +6 random properties. 6.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous, and that's even craftable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I mean, that's huge amounts of randomization here.
Plus, there's also the range. All of these things have a range that we have to take into consideration that will be randomized as well. When you see something that says, I'm taking a look at one of the legendary helms here, the Helm of the Commander, we have that range, and that means if this item drops to you, it can be anywhere within that range. So +250 to 300 armor, you can get anywhere within that. And then the 81 to 100 life, the 41 to 45 critical damage, and then those +2 random properties. Just because a Helm of the Commander drops for you, it's not going to be the same as when it drops for someone else. It's going to be within these ranges, but it's not going to be exactly the same. And this is where the difference comes, and this is how, Diablo can have so many different types of items, because there's just so much randomization that's attributed to it.
And apparently, this isn't an entire list. It's pretty much just a list of placeholders. So, I mean, it doesn't cover everything. So, I mean, we are definitely looking at more, and somebody just linked me to a Bashiok post that I guess I didn't see for some reason. And basically what he said was most of the affixes aren't even in the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and I've seen a ton of different things in the game so far. So, I don't know. That kind of comforts me. Blizzard's going to have a ton of different affixes. So, not only can you have a bunch of random properties that roll on the item, but also affixes, prefixes, all that other good stuff per item. So, yeah, there's so much different randomization on items. This is ridiculous. I can't even wrap my head around it.
Yeah, and it is nice though. I'm really happy that they put in the item page just so that we can kind of have a base to look at what there is potentially at least now in place. And everyone loves looking at the legendary items. And in saying that, going to the forums. People were talking about the legendary items and the set items, and there was a handful of people talking about how they felt kind of underwhelming. Do you have anything to say about that? Have you had much of a look at the legendary? I mean, it's obviously very hard to make that call right now. No one's even playing the game. At most, people are playing the first third of the first act. Like, to talk about how powerful these pieces of gear that would be dropping in Inferno are, the higher end, the legendaries, the higher end items. Really, I mean, come on, you can't really make that call. You're not even really playing the game. Most people make it if they're not really playing the game. So
I saw somebody complaining about one item in particular. I don't remember what it was, or sorry, an item property, and basically on one of the legendary items, and I don't know exactly which one it was. It only added something like, I don't know, 2 life per second regeneration. And they're like, okay, for a legendary item in Inferno, how is 2 life per second going to do me any good when I have 25,000 health and mobs are hitting me for 5,000 health? What's that going to do for me? 2 points per second. That's really not going to do much of anything. Which I guess I kind of agree with, but again, we have no idea how this thing is going to work, so it's really hard to say. I've also seen people complaining about the visual tiers of the endgame items, and somebody was, sorry, not the endgame items. I think they were talking about the class selection screen, particularly for barbarian.
They were
and
complaining about the class selection screen. That seems a little bit much.
Right, they showed the images of the tiers from Diablo 2 for the barbarian. The whopping 3 different tiers for the barbarian in Diablo 2. And then they showed a screenshot of the barbarian from the class selection screen, how he's wearing, I think, at least I believe it's a selection screen. He's wearing like all skeleton armor kind of a thing. I don't really know. And they were just talking about how they feel like Diablo 2's visual tiers were so much nicer than Diablo 3's. And I just couldn't believe that they were saying that, because I mean, I can't even, I don't know. Diablo 3 has 18 potential visual tiers. We've seen what they look like in Inferno mode. We've seen a couple of classes from Gamescom, and they just look sick.
Yeah.
I guess what somebody was complaining about also was the huge shoulder pads, which is kind of just something that Blizzard's been doing, and that's just how it's going to be. And I don't really have a problem with it, but I mean, the one that stands out to me, it was either the monk or the wizard. I don't remember what it was, and I swear to God, they looked like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen VR Troopers, but that was a really old show. It was 10 times better than Power Rangers, and they just look sick as hell. Sick as Inferno, okay? They look sick as Inferno.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I just can't wait to see what Blizzard has to show us for level 18 tiers. They just look so ridiculous. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean that's a stylistic choice, and whether or not people like it that's a matter of personal opinion. It is over the top.
Everything's wrong, right?
well, I mean, it is over the top, but it's meant to be over the top. So I don't know. You have to take it for what it is. You have to kind of realize what it is. It's specifically designed to be that way. So either it's one of those things. Either you just like it or you don't. If you don't like it, well, that's the direction they're taking. You can complain, kick and scream all you want. I don't really see it changing anytime soon. So it's kind of just have to deal with it. But I mean, I overall, we're kind of moving in art direction right now, but the items game I'm happy about. I'm happy at all the potential. I'm happy at all the randomization. The visual tiers, which you were just mentioning, I'm pretty content with that as well. I mean, this game's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not denying it.
Yeah. I agree.
Complainers, overall, I mean, if you really don't like the game, there's crap tons of other games that you can play, so feel free. I mean, enjoy, have a blast. Stone of Jordan's back. That's cool.
Yeah, there's a bunch of, I did notice that a lot of the Diablo 2 items came back. Mara's Kaleidoscope is like one of the best items for the wizard in this game. And a bunch of cool stuff. I am still looking for Wirt's fourth leg, though.
Are you? I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
It's gotta. I mean, his first leg, his second leg, his third leg was in World of Warcraft. I mean, come on.
That's really funny. All right, so go ahead and take a look at the item page. It's definitely, there's so much to look at. It definitely have a huge nerdgasm all over that. It's pretty.
There are a couple more things that I wanted to hit on before we moved on.
On the item page?
Yes, specifically on the items, and we can stay on topic this time. They also added the follower special items, which previously we hadn't heard anything about. It looks like Enchantress uses focuses, and which I guess is stuff like, well, I can't even say what it's stuff like. It's just, they're all weird, like mirrors and glasses and all kinds of weird stuff. Scoundrel uses tokens, which is for the most part like dice, pouches and satchels, sorry, and looks like some kind of dagger, I guess you can use. And the Templar uses relics, which are tomes. They are shards, and looks like a holy grail kind of a thing. And like, we have all these cool different visuals for them. We just don't know what they do yet. And this is just because I'm assuming everything on these items are going to be completely random. So I mean, it's hard to say what it is that they're going to do, although I mean, it's safe to say that they're going to add some kind of stats.
Right.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that's that. And then I also wanted to touch on the Scroll of Reforging, which is a new scroll that Blizzard hasn't put in the beta, at least not to my knowledge. And this is, what it does is it lets you reroll an item. Now, whether or not we can reroll runes, I guess is still to be seen, but there's different levels of this. There's just the Reforging scroll, and then there's Superior and Greater Reforging also. And this just lets you reroll different types of items. So you can reroll a set, a rare item, a legendary item, etc. with each of the different ones. And the only downside to this is that you take a 10% durability loss when you reroll an item.
Permanent, too. And
yes.
also, I think it's very important to note, that this cannot be used on items with required level 50 or above. So
Yes.
this is something that you're using, in your first playthrough of the game, probably pretty consistently. But as we start to work our way into likely Hell and Inferno, it's not really, because I believe we're supposed to be 60 at the end of Hell, around 60. So
yeah, from what I remember, it was 0 to 30, and then, or 1 to 30, sorry, and then 30 to 50, and then 50 to 60 in Hell.
So I mean, then
By the time we hit Hell, you're right. By the time we hit
won't
Hell,
be using it. I mean, they obviously could add additional scrolls of reforging that will allow us to use it. But in terms of a design choice as to why they did this initially, I do think that that's pretty interesting. Maybe to give us a little, a little bit of room to kind of play around with things as we're leveling up, and specifically people who are new to the game. If you get something, it's like, oh, that's kind of crap. Well, they don't want to punish you while you're still getting comfortable with the game. For finding something or rolling something that ends up not being good for you. But maybe later down the road, when you're pretty hooked in, they're like, it's not a big deal. You can just farm for another piece of this gear if it's not what you want. Yeah, pretty interesting stuff. All right, then. Well, why don't we now go ahead and move on into the next topic? We had touched on it briefly, but I kind of wanted to go into a little bit of a further discussion and detail about the changes to the Demon Hunter and upcoming changes to the Wizard and the Witch Doctor. Now, I do want to note, I've checked, and this stuff isn't currently in the beta.
Yes, it hasn't been patched yet.
Yeah, but this is stuff that's coming that we know for certain. Well, because it's in the skill calculator, and they obviously made this change to the skill calculator because they plan on doing it. Now, as of right now, hatred for the Demon Hunter works as follows. Well, the Demon Hunter resource in general, we've got hatred and discipline. I'm just going to briefly explain this for people who may not know. Now, they both start full, and then you just use hatred abilities, and you use discipline abilities, and it drops the resource down until it refills itself. And it's a relatively quick refill. It's nothing crazy, but... well, it's, they've come to the conclusion that this isn't working, at least the hatred side of things. And a lot of people playing the Demon Hunter in the beta had some complaints about hatred starving, basically, which was occurring.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I mean, I was really looking forward to playing the Demon Hunter, sorry. And I mean, I've been saying this since the Demon Hunter was announced. I was going to play Wizard as my main, and then Demon Hunter as my alt, and then eventually get to the rest of the characters. And from my playthrough in the beta, it was just... it took me the longest to get through, and it was just not fun at all, to be honest. And that's terrible saying that, because I mean, everything else was great, but I enjoyed the Witch Doctor more than I enjoyed the Demon Hunter, and I hated the Witch Doctor.
Yeah.
It just felt I was basically running around using my normal attack the entire time, just because I was so starved of hatred. Meanwhile, my discipline was constantly sitting at 100%.
Well, I think, it's tough to judge that in the early stages of the game because we don't have a lot of discipline unlocks that are all that useful. Like, you start off with Caltrops, which is just a snare.
The problem.
Yeah, well, I mean, and they could rearrange this stuff, but you start off with Caltrops, which is just a snare, and then you move into Vault, which is the next one that you unlock for discipline. And, I ended up using Vault, but when I had Caltrops, I didn't even bother because I didn't care about the snare when I had Bola Shot there as well.
Right, I did the same exact thing. I think I had Entangling Shot, Bola Shot, and something else. So every single one of my skills were using... I think I got Vault just for the hell of it because, I mean, I had nothing to do with discipline.
So, yeah, it's, but anyways, the point is that they have reworked it now. So there will be a hatred generator, there will be hatred generating spells, and then hatred spending spells. So you'll still have the left side hatred for the Demon Hunter, and there'll also be the right side of the discipline spells, and that's remaining unchanged. But now that we're looking at it, it looks like hatred's going to function just kind of like Fury and Spirit. I'm not sure, though, because I haven't really made an official announcement, if hatred is going to degenerate. So if I use a hatred generator and then I just stand there, is it going to degenerate or is it going to stick static like the Monk's Spirit? I think that's something that we still have to wait to figure out what's going to happen. But this change is coming. Like they're planning to make this change for the very reason that we talked about, people running into hatred starvation issues. And reading through the forums, as I so much enjoy doing, because there's no trolling that ever goes on ever. But I like to read through the forums just to keep up on the community and what everyone's doing and thinking and talking about. And we had people saying, well, hey, as a Demon Hunter, you shouldn't be running into starvation issues because you should be using your auto attack too. My only issue with that is that that's not the case for any other class. Every other class, I'm constantly using my resource and my special abilities. I'm not sitting there punching with my monk and just auto attacking with my barbarian. Like, I'm always using my resource. I'm always using my skills. To say that isn't the same plan for the Demon Hunter, I don't know if that really makes sense. Like,
makes it not fun. Every other class can run around and shoot special effects, and all kinds of cool, crazy crap is happening. And then my demon hunter is here shooting one arrow at a time every couple seconds. You know?
I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind using it every so often. In fact, I got pretty comfortable, bouncing in between. I would use something that used up hatred, and then I'd auto attack, and then I'd kind of go back and forth. And you can get in a rhythm, and that can become comfortable, and you can play that way. But as mentioned, all the other classes, I am constantly using my skills. My resource really isn't an issue because there's a nice balance, and clearly that balance wasn't there for the demon hunter, and they've decided to change it as a result. So yeah, I mean that's basically all that there is to say about it. They plan to make this change. It's up on the skill calculator, so keep an eye out because it's coming.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Definitely. I mean, I'm glad that they did. Sorry, I know I just cut you off. I'm glad that they changed. Oh, I guess you were about to get into this, weren't you?
I don't know.
Before I so rudely cut you off.
We're talking about the
How they
wizard and the
changed
witch doctor.
Weapon damage or level to weapon.
Yeah,
Okay,
and this is a change that's also coming through. If you take a look at the skill calculator, the spells and abilities now for the wizard and the witch doctor, which used to scale based off kind of attributes and other things, will now be scaling.
Demon hunter as well. Demon hunter, for example, grenades.
Yeah, but I mean, still, a majority of the demon hunter spells were off weapon damage to begin with.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, the biggest changes coming for the witch doctor and the wizard, and the fact that now their spells are going to be scaling based off weapon damage, which will be akin to now how everyone else is doing. So I'm going to hop here quickly and just go into the beta really quick so I can show you guys. We'll take a look at Magic Missile right now. Magic Missile costing a set amount of arcane power and dealing a range of damage. You can see right now on my particular wizard dealing 5 to 20 damage. And if we hop on right over to the skill calculator, you'll then be able to see the difference here. Oh, where is it? What was I looking at? Was I looking at Magic Missile? Yes, I was. Magic Missile. Oh my gosh, I'm all over the place. So there's Magic Missile, and if we look at the Magic Missile on the skill calculator, you can see now, instead of having a range to damage, it's dealing a percentage of weapon damage. Right here, specifically, it's saying 110% of weapon damage is arcane. And the same thing is the case for the Witch Doctor. Right now, Witch Doctor spells are a range of damage, but they're being changed to be based off of weapon damage. So, Kevin, what do you think about this change? Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? And just give your general thoughts on it.
I mean, it's interesting, and for me, who I really want to play the wizard as my main. It's kind of, I don't know. I guess I don't really know how I feel about this. I mean, it's different. I can't say that. Previously, I was able to only worry about having to get affixes or attributes and properties, sorry, on my items. Now I also have to worry about getting weapon damage. So previously, where I was really only worried about plus what was I saying? Cast speed before, and crit hit, and what other percentage, and wizard damage percent. So not the weapon damage, but the damage of the attribute.
Mm-hmm.
Now I also have to worry about how much the wand does normally, just so I can make sure my spells are doing, a decent amount of damage. I mean, yes, I still want to worry about those properties and attributes. For example, I mean, if there's a difference of 1% damage, and I get, cast speed, and it does a lot more damage for the wand itself, I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's just now I'm focusing on different types of items or different properties on items as opposed to what I would have before.
Right. And I mean, it's safe to say that you may see a shift in the way people decide to play their characters and the types of gear that they look to get. In the past, maybe we were, as you say, looking for those wands and the things that, the things in the game that would increase the basic stats. But now we just want high weapon damage weapons so that our spells will scale accordingly. And that's interesting because it is going to change potentially what people are looking to get. And I don't know. I just think, because my concern now is that, we'll be seeing, I don't know if it's a concern, but I feel like we'll definitely be seeing now people running around with axes on their wizards.
Which is kind of silly. I mean, for example, right now, here I am running around on my wizard, and I mean, I've got casting speed. I've got something like, let me check. I think it's 5% casting speed. 4% casting speed, and the wand that I'm using right now is, actually, you can inspect me, so we can show everybody. Right-click on my portrait and click inspect. So basically, if you inspect me, you can check out my wand. It really doesn't do that much damage, and the only reason why I was keeping this wand as opposed to something else was just because of the casting speed update. or upgrade. I don't even know what to call it. The addition or the plus casting speed. Sorry, duh. So I was like, all right, 12.6 damage per second. I don't really care. I'm never using it. I like the fact that it has plus casting speed. I like the fact that it adds a little bit of damage. And since we're only running through the same content, I don't really have to worry about doing that much more damage. I want the casting speed so I can just blow through everything a lot faster. Because, I mean, still, one hit usually kills everything pretty damn quick anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So now I really have to worry about the damage, which, I don't know. Again, like I said before, I have to worry about completely different items.
Yeah, well, it's going to give you
Different mindset.
It's going to give you another thing to think about. It's going to give everyone, the witch doctor and the wizard specifically, another thing to think about when they're picking the gear that they're going to be using, because they can't just be thinking about the attributes anymore. They also have to worry about weapon damage. Now, I don't know. I wonder. Is it going to become the case that we'll be looking at wands and possibly staves falling out of vogue, just because I guess staves are the exception, because in general staves have a high DPS, but wands specifically, are we going to be using wands that generally have low a low weapon damage, if that's going to greatly negatively affect the amount of damage that the caster spells will be doing?
That's a really, really good point, because I've been straying away from the staves just because, okay, I don't need to worry about weapon damage. I just want as many possible attributes and properties as I possibly can. And in order to do that, two separate items, rolling different sets of properties and attributes works perfectly. I mean, I've got a bunch of different stuff here. On my orb, I have 9% more damage. I have regenerate life, arcane power +1. I get +1 arcane power point. That's a lot to say. I get 1 arcane power point per critical hit. So whenever I hit a crit on a monster, I get 1 point towards arcane power, which allows me to spam more efficiently, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But now, staves are gonna. It would make sense. At least that's the deal. Two-handed weapons are supposed to do more damage. Although I did notice a blue post by Zarhim. I think it was yesterday actually, just saying that two-handed weapons and one-handed weapons. There's gonna be more efficient weapon choice, depending on the situation you're in. But for the most part, it should just be the difference in visuals and your personal preference, which I guess I'm kind of happy about. And again, Blizzard isn't really trying to make this that balanced of a game. They're not really aiming to make this an esport. So having, two-handed weapons which hit slowly and do damage that look cool, it's not really that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully then, with these one-handed weapons, with this change coming through for the casters, that maybe they'll be changing the base damage so that people can actually use it. Because as you mentioned, we look at you right now, and sure, you've got a great offhand, lots of attributes that are going to help the spell casting now. But once your spells are based off of weapon damage, all of a sudden it's shitty to have this offhand if you could instead have a two-handed weapon that has a much larger amount of base damage, and that way your spells are going to be doing a lot more damage as a result. So it'll just be interesting to see how it all ends up playing out. It's really a tough call right now because we don't know when the change is coming through. This is just once more something that has been noted on the skill calculator, and we're assuming that as a result of this change has been put on the skill calculator, that we'll be seeing it in some sort of a patch or some sort of an update sometime soon. But it's just going to be it's an interesting decision, I would say. But people are expressing the concern, like we just said. Okay, now everyone will be running around with huge two-handed weapons, because what's the point? But hopefully, you said Zarhim had mentioned that it's just going to be more of a visual distinguishment overall, except for, hey, if I find this amazing one-handed and my two-hand sucks in comparison to it. But all else equal, it should be about even. I'm interested to see how that ends up playing out.
So you're right. I really have no reason to run around with a wand and an offhand when a two-handed staff is going to give me the same properties and do more damage.
Yeah. But obviously this is something they're thinking about. There's no I have to assume that this is something that they're not ignorant to. That in making this change, they do need to make it so that having one hands and stuff are still advantageous as opposed to having big massive two hands. That there should be something comparable there between the two. So So, all right. Well, I guess that pretty much does it for our major topics. So, as such, we'll be now moving into the next segment, which will be the poll of the week. Now, before we go ahead and talk about this week's poll, why don't we go ahead and wrap up the poll from last week? And I appreciate everyone actually going out and voting, because it seems like this is one of the higher amount of vote counts that we've had, probably since the press event. This is at least pretty up there in numbers. It was certainly one-sided, that's for sure. We were asking people how they felt about PayPal being announced as the cash-out company, and coming in with 54% of the votes, people just said it was expected. And right behind that, at 17%, people saying it didn't really bother them much. 15% who cares, and then all the way close to the bottom, 6% is I hate PayPal. And then 5% is psyched. How is that even an option? That was a weird option for us to pick. But yeah, overall.
Well, it could have been some random third-party company that nobody's heard about. I mean, I trust PayPal. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, overall, people were content with it, and people expected it. So, all right, Kevin. So, what about this week's poll? What are people going to be looking to answer?
So this week, we know that Blizzard just announced, I guess, that they're pushing back the release date, or tentative release date, to early 2012. We just want to know what you guys think about that. I mean, Blizzard's been reiterating the fact that they've been shooting for a 2011 release for months now. So, I mean, what do you guys think? Are you happy that they're taking their time and making the game as best as it can be? Are you excited just because the beta is going to be longer? It means you have a better chance of getting in? Does it suck having to wait? Which, I mean, I guess it kind of does. But, hey, what the hell? Do you want them to just release the game buggy and patch it later on? You know, kind of take the Microsoft approach at things. You know, release service packs because their software doesn't work, or you don't really care.
Yes.
I hope nobody picks that choice.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, this is definitely, people are going to be pretty heated about this. The release date's certainly the biggest thing, because not everyone gets a chance to play the beta, and even those that do realize, okay, there's not a lot of content, so this is only going to keep me entertained for so very long. So we do, of course, want to hear your opinions, and we want to know what you guys think. So why don't you go ahead and head on over to DiabloFans.com and cast your vote. All right, so now with that out of the way, we can actually move right on into the user question portion of DiabloCast, and I'm actually going to head on over to Facebook here, because it looks like I do have a few questions. All right, so first and foremost, let's go ahead and get a question here from Kyle. Kyle asking, from the beta, what's your thoughts on the final product? So basically just wondering, you know, what we think about the beta, how we feel it's been going so far. I'm having a lot of fun, and especially given the fact that it is such a small amount of content, I'm pretty content with what's available right now. I mean, I just can't wait to release. That's gonna be come the end of the day. I cannot wait until the game's released, because as much fun as the beta's playing, I realize not only am I gonna lose everything, but there's so much more potential content that I'm still waiting on, that I just want it to be here already. And I guess, you know, going back to what we discussed earlier, the fact that, all right, well, we've got a delayed release date now, so that kind of sucks. But I'm in the position where I would rather wait a little while longer to get out, you know, an absolutely 100% finished product that Blizzard is, you know, content with, and they feel like that's the game that they want to present to the public. I'd rather wait for that a couple extra months than have them push out something earlier. But right now, the way it's looking, it's great. I love it. I'm having a great time with it. So,
yeah, me too. I mean, I'm really enjoying it, even though it is such little content. I pretty much played through it like I was saying at the beginning. I mean, I maxed out my artisan, maxed out my follower, maxed out my wizard. At this point, I guess I should just go ahead and max out the rest of the classes just for the hell of it, even though I'm going to lose everything anyway. Kind of sucks, but whatever. I mean, I wish that there was more to play.
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I've got a lot of good feedback. I mean, I have a lot of feedback on the user interface. It's just by itself.
What do you think was some of your biggest feedback, or the biggest things that you brought up?
Let me open up. It's just a huge thing in notes that I've got down. Let's see. For the user interface, I really think that companions and party people should show up on the little tab over here on the side, where it shows Force Wizard and whatnot. My party, I think companions should show up there, just because. And by companions, I mean like the scroll of companion, the little creature thingy that pops up when you use the scroll, I guess. So I have noticed that you have to really look for them. Like, sometimes it's a really tiny little bug spider kind of a thing, and you can barely see it, and then when it's dead, it kind of just pops and bleeds a little bit on the floor, but that's about it. Like there's really no indication of whether or not the companion's gone. So I do feel like if they added that to the party list on the side, then we would be able to keep better track of that. Let's see, what else do I have in here? I really miss the Diablo 2 style minimap, the overlay right over the top of the character. I think that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They allow us to look at the map as a whole that way, but if we don't keep pressing on if we don't hold the mouse click down, then we stop being able to walk. So, I don't know. I really wish that they can add a legacy minimap style. I have noticed, and let me see if this still works. If you hit F9, it detaches. I guess they must have changed that in one of the patches. I wonder if that was just in there for debugging purposes. If you hit F9, it detached your character from the camera, or the camera from the character. Sorry, and you could move your character, and he just leaves the screen. So something like, I don't know. Imagine an RTS. You take a unit, StarCraft 2. You take a Marine and you click him outside your screen, and you don't move your camera. So your camera is just sitting there, and the guy is gone. I mean, now I'm fairly certain that was just there to debug, but I mean, I think that would have been awesome, so we could just check out the scenery. I mean, I wouldn't have minded like doing that. For example, you and I we were just watching a video. Somebody had zoomed all the way out, and still curious as to how that's possible. So we could check out Tristram. I mean, that's pretty sweet. I feel like anybody that wants to get into the lore or even look at just the environment, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, no, I really liked that, and I saw that as well, and I thought that was pretty cool. I really did. All right, so I think we're going to actually do something a little bit different this time. Kevin, if you have a little bit of time and you're willing to devote to this, I think we could probably put in just a little bit of extra time. I'm not sure exactly how long, but I'm thinking about 20 to 30 minutes. Kevin and I are just going to play through a little bit of the beta right now, and at the same time, I will be willing to field questions here from the live stream. Lots of it's garbage, lots of it's absolutely ridiculous and trolling that's going on. But any legitimate questions that people have, feel free to ask, and I'll be looking back there every now and then. In fact, Kevin, since this is the screen that's streaming, would you mind taking a look back? Or you probably don't even have a second monitor, do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Hey,
would you mind taking a look back to try to grab some of the decent questions every so often? That way we can keep the action going on the stream.
I actually have the IRC on my other monitor if you guys want to jump in there. Otherwise, I can stick Firefox in my other monitor right now.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that.
Give me 1 sec.
Just so that we can keep the action going here on the live stream while we're playing. And even if you just want to grab the question, I'll be happy to answer it while we're playing through. But hey, here we go, up to the follower. That's exciting.
Alrighty.
I got to tell everyone one thing though, and this is not a normal ending to the podcast. Pink skirt's ridiculous. This barbarian. It was a solid piece though. I mean, I got a decent legendary leg, even if it's only got 6 armor. It's got some nice stats to it, and I was like, whatever. Who cares if it's pink? I just wish they added armor dies. That way I could actually take care of it. Wouldn't it be a problem?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as to when dies are going to be in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did see that one of the dies is like bright pink and it's called Lovely or something like that. I think that's freaking awesome. I know everybody's gonna rage about that, and that's why I think it's awesome. But I'm just throwing that out there.
Someone just asked, I'll grab this one. I just glanced over for a minute. Someone just asked how we felt about the Demon Hunter change. We did kind of just talk about that a little earlier in the podcast, but if you wanted a general recap, I think that it's probably a good thing, given the fact that there were evidently so many issues that people were having. The fact that they're going to be changing it up a little bit, I don't think that's bad. It's not,
I'm happy. I mean, like I said, I wasn't happy. I wasn't really happy at all, actually, with how the Demon Hunter was playing out prior to these changes. So I'm really hoping that these changes are going to affect and positively affect the gameplay of the Demon Hunter.
Right.
I also saw somebody ask, and it looks like it kind of went up. But if we think that weapon DPS, wait, what? Maybe I misread that. Do you think weapon DPS is going to affect? Oh, do you think weapon speed matters on the DPS? Sorry. No. Weapon speed shouldn't affect skills, I believe. Although, actually, that's an interesting question.
It's based off of weapon damage, so that's gonna.
Yes, but something like the Demon Hunter, skills should potentially be affected by weapon speed, because if you think about it, can only cast as fast as his weapon can move.
Yeah.
All the Demon Hunter's skills are based on, just shooting an arrow.
Right. Right.
So if Blizzard could somehow figure out how to, I don't know, maybe scale hatred usage and regeneration with weapon speed, that would be something interesting.
Yeah, and we'll have to see how that ends up going. I mean, we've got a casting speed, and if the casting speed, I'm assuming the casting speed generally is not going to be affected by the weapon damage when we're talking about the wizard and the witch doctor.
Right.
The casting speed's going to be what it is, and then it's just based off of the weapon damage. It would be the attack speed of the weapon if you were to hit someone with a melee weapon as those casters, because I'm sure that's specifically what he's talking about. Because the changes that are coming forth for the Demon Hunter are pretty minor when it comes to that, because as we talked about, a majority of the skills. What conversation are you in right now that's delaying us?
My bad.
There we go.
My bad.
Were you listening to him talk, or?
Nah, I was in my inventory selling some stuff.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, but it's going to be, again, based off of the base weapon damage, not the weapon speed. The changes that are happening to why don't you just jump down, Kevin? The changes the changes that are happening to the wizard and the witch doctor. So, and to go back momentarily to discussion about the upcoming changes that will be taking place for the Demon Hunter, the changes that will be taking place with hatred specifically. Is because I did read all those complaints, and I saw a lot about those issues about the rage starving. But it's funny because when I did my Let's Play on the Demon Hunter, at first I was like, hey, I'm not having a problem. But that's because I had a hand-me-down weapon. and it was a lot more damage than it should have been for that specific point in time. So I realized after, as I started to progress and level up, and my level became a little bit more normal amongst where it should be, I was like, oh, this isn't really... this is kind of an issue. I'm kind of running into an issue now. So, all right. Any other questions we got here? Let me look over momentarily. Someone asking about if we think the beta should be longer. As of now, you can run the game in about 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah, if you go straight through, I think another thing too, and this is something that I'm still looking to do in the future for future videos, if you actually explore around the map and you take a look at everything instead of trying to go straight, it'll take longer if you kind of put in the effort to go all the way around. But certainly, like a level 13 is going to clear it in like 30 minutes, especially if they kind of go balls to the wall and gung ho straight towards the end of every section.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fastest run I've done was like some 30 minutes. So yeah, I mean, there is probably about 45 to an hour. I think the very first run through I did after not knowing what the hell's going on, I think it took me about close to an hour exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a level 1 wizard, and I mean, so after you kind of get used to things and after you really level up, so you can just blow through everything. You could probably get it done in about a half hour.
Yeah, and there's a general feel to the area, so you can kind of get a good idea of what direction you should be moving in. Even though the dungeons are randomized, the dungeons are like I've not ran into a dungeon that's been the same like back to back.
I haven't paid much attention. That's not good.
It's not. It just isn't. They aren't the same. They aren't exactly the same. Everything's in a little bit of a different spot when you walk into the dungeons. And there's a portion of the outer areas that are certainly, and we have randomized dungeons. We're talking about like the damp cellars and the cellar, the cave under the well or something like that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
I've only ran into that once. I mean, that was pretty cool, and there really wasn't much under there, but it was still pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, there's the option. I actually said that in my playthrough. Like there could be something under here. There isn't, but
right. I guess that's true.
Given the way Diablo functions, there could be the best item in the game under there. You never know.
Yeah, potentially.
But yeah, I mean, would I like it to be longer? Sure. Is it going to be? No. Blizzard's not really having us test game bugs so much as they're testing the services of the game.
Right, and the reasoning behind this is just because, I mean, they have a QA department that can test World of Warcraft. They should be able to test, a single-player action RPG.
Right, and I mean, we'll see. I mean, they're obviously running into enough issues to delay the game.
Well, I mean...
Right, I mean, there's enough issues right now that people are delaying, that they've decided they need to delay the game.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to launch the game completely bug-free. I mean... Even if we tested the entire game, they still wouldn't launch it completely bug-free. That's just how things work.
Sure. And the issue with that is that I think it's way too problematic. Like, it's impossible to avoid giant spoilers if you give out the entire game. Like, even if you took out every single quest and conversation, you'll still see the areas.
Right.
Like, I'm in heaven.
You know what the hell's going on. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like, these things give away giant spoilers, and it kind of makes it, you know what I mean? It just becomes a little. They don't want to do that. I mean, Diablo is a kind of more of a story-driven game. This isn't an MMO, and even MMOs, they've got their stories. So World of Warcraft has its story, whether or not you like it. It's got story behind it, you know, and they just don't want to give that away in this game. It's too important in a game like Diablo, the lore and the actual events and what's taking place. It's too important for them to show us all the content, and then as such, have us know exactly what's going on before release, you know?
Right.
But even with that said...
Hey, somebody suggested we should play co-op.
We are.
It's a great idea.
even with that said, even with you know, the fact that it would be a huge spoiler, I'm not gonna. I would certainly wouldn't go as far as to say people wouldn't buy the game still. I mean, why?
Yeah,
you still want the actual game because you lose your character at release.
Your character. I mean, we don't have PvP, and there's dozens. I mean, there's so much more content that we can potentially have.
But then, as a developer, they probably want to keep. You know, they've got their little secrets. They've got their little gems hidden away right now. We don't know everything that's going to happen. So they want to keep that hidden until release, and that's okay. I mean, it's obviously their decision. Ooh, treasure bandit.
Oh, you punk.
Of course, I just used leave. All right, Kevin, do you mind grabbing another question there from the chat if you could?
Yep, let's see. How do you aim with... Oh, that's a decent question. How do you aim with the skill keys? So, for example, if I tie a skill to, let's see, number 2, how do I aim with it? Basically, it just goes to wherever my mouse is pointing. So, yeah. I know you can't really see my screen right now, but I've got this on 4, and all I do is move my mouse around, and it just follows my cursor.
And I can just show on the live stream real quick. I'll just put my mouse down to the bottom, and I'll hit leap attack, and there we go,
there you go.
Right down there. So whatever direction your mouse is, once you hit the key, that's where the spell is going to go. That's how it works. That's a basic question, and that's good. I like that because if we're getting those kind of questions, that means we have people who are brand new to the Diablo universe. And if we have people that are brand new to the Diablo universe, that means this game is bringing about enough interest that people are looking to move into it. You know, people who didn't play Diablo 2 and Diablo 1.
I saw a thread on the Diablo 3 forums that asked where you got started in the Diablo universe. Was it Diablo 1 or Diablo 2? And I kind of just thought about that a little bit. And I'm sure that there are people who haven't played either game that are getting into this. I mean, especially because the forums are open to StarCraft 2 and World of Warcraft players. And some people said, hey, wow, StarCraft 2, I should get that. It looks like a cool game. And not only that, but, I mean, I was a young kid when StarCraft 1 and Diablo 1 and all those games came out. I mean, I was just a little kid. And that's just what the major game was when I was that old. So, I mean, people that, you know, the next generation, I guess I really shouldn't, possibly next generation.
Well, it is. I mean, you know, that's just how it works. But you play the games that are in vogue. That's what happens. You know,
right?
Not many. There's people who do it, and if you're one of those people, please don't rage like a little baby. But not many people, you know, are just gonna out of nowhere who never played Diablo 1. Then not many people are gonna go pick it up and play it. Unless you're excited for Diablo 2 and you just kind of want to get that little bit of an extra experience.
Right.
But you play the games that are relevant to your time, so.
Right. So, I mean, for us, and I'm pretty sure you're the same way because, I mean, you're a bit older than me. So, I mean, Diablo 1 was just the game at the time. And then they made Diablo 2. And, wow, you know, Diablo 2, I can't believe this is coming out. This is great. And, I mean, a decade later, Diablo 3. And, I mean, there are people who aren't even 15 who are looking forward to this game. So, I mean, Diablo 1 came out 15 years ago.
Pretty sure we just walked into a dead end with a bunch of idiots.
Did we? That was dumb. Oh, man, I haven't even... Oh, yeah. It's what... See, okay. That's something else I really wish we had minimap ping. So that way I could just ping the top left corner of the minimap and say, hey, we have to go this way.
Yeah. So, it is good, though. And I like that, too. I like that we're getting in the newer generation to the Diablo franchise, you know. And you can't hate on people for not playing the prior games. Some people weren't old enough, or some people didn't start gaming then. Let's say someone didn't start gaming until college. And, you know, so, you know, people who are our age, but they never played Diablo 1 or 2. In fact, I have friends like that. I have a few friends. One of my really good friends from college, I actually played WoW with him, and we played StarCraft 2 a bit as well. But during, like, his high school, when he was in high school and before then, he did gaming, but he wasn't necessarily into PC gaming. Like, he played on, like, a PlayStation, the N64. You know what I mean? and as such, unless you're a big PC gamer, chances are you didn't really end up playing StarCraft or Diablo, you know?
Right.
There were some ports that were put out, but still, that wasn't a big thing.
Those weren't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason why I got either of them They made a Warcraft 2, and they actually made Diablo 1 on the PlayStation and StarCraft 64. And the only reason why I got them was because I had played those games on PC before, and I wanted to have them.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's really just not. They just didn't hit the console market,
right.
which is understandable. I mean, majority of it is PC gamer, although they're looking to change that with Diablo 3.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm interested to see how that whole console thing plays out. People have even gone as far as to say that we have 6 skills because of a controller. People have gone as far as to say that, and you know what? I won't rule it out, but I don't know. There's really not much to say about that. We won't rule it out though. That's all. But yeah, no.
Somebody, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Do we have another question or?
Yeah, somebody asked what the little glowy thing was over our heads. What happens is when you pick up a shrine, it sticks a little glowy thing instead of some kind of indicator. Well, I guess that is the indicator for every shrine instead of having a different one for each one. So it kind of throws up a little halo-looking thing over your head to indicate that you have a shrine on.
Yeah. Here's a good question. Someone asking about the rune stone effect for the monk, which is going to allow resurrection. Essentially the monk...
How's that going to fit into hardcore?
Yeah, well, that's the concern. It looks like we are going to be in the center of the map. Looks like that's the area, dead center. There's a little path we haven't gone down. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, that's very strong. I can't imagine it not working. But people are calling. Yeah, well, people are calling now Monk just the hardcore character with the healing. With the mobility, I know that the monk also has through runes a lot of ways to absorb and avoid damage too. So it's obviously it's going to be strong. I mean, what else is there to really say about it? That is going to be a very strong skill to have in hardcore.
You have to keep in mind that the monk is pretty damn weak. From what I've noticed, I mean, like I think I died twice playing through as my monk.
Well, it's the melee version of the glass cannon, right?
Right, basically.
I mean, that's what it is.
As soon as I got into large pack, I didn't do enough AoE damage to kill everything, and they just they rocked me. I mean, I can't even think of anything else to say. I mean, I'm trying to think of PG-13 words here.
Well, that's what it is. You know, it's definitely a high damage dealing class, and it's very quick and agile. But the concern is going to be: are monks going to be? Is it becoming necessary? You know, is that skill necessary for monks? Is it that bad as a monk that you're absolutely, if you don't have that, you're kind of super screwed, you know?
Yep.
That's definitely a major concern. So, all right, here we go. Wonderful. And this is incredibly easy for us, given the fact that we're both level 13.
Look at this. Oh, why is it not working? Oh my God. See, that's a little bit buggy, but whatever.
I don't even know what you're trying to do. Oh, you're trying to go straight through? Oh, I see.
Yeah, I do that all the time, but I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't let me click to cast. Like, it just kind of cuts off. I don't know why it does that. It specifically only happens with a mouse, and I don't know why.
Don't know. You think that's an internet issue or a bug problem that needs to be reported?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a bug. I think I've seen a thread on it before, possibly. I don't know. I got to look more into it because I don't really know what causes it, so I don't really know what to say other than, hey, why does it stop casting? I did test it with the keyboard, though, and it seems to only happen in the Royal Crypts and when I'm fighting Lurik. So
we just got a question here. People asking about barrel breaking, and is it a waste of time? I'm going to say this. All right, I got this complaint from my Let's Plays. People saying, Force sucks, he's not breaking through all the barrels. When I'm doing a Let's Play and I'm trying to entertain people, I'm not going to sit there breaking 5,000 barrels.
It is kind of boring. I hate having to do it, but I mean, I do it just because all the gold drops, potentially magic items drop.
Right. It's definitely worth it. When you play single player, you're playing the game for your character that you're keeping. It is most definitely worth it to click on everything. That's what Diablo is. You click every single thing that exists.
Why are we even talking? We should just say click, click, click.
But yes, when I was doing the Let's Plays, I avoided that just to not make it boring, you know. And people complained. People are just people being stupid again. That's what it is. I mean, this is not entertaining for you guys to watch me break barrels. So I prefer to stick in the combat. But yes,
not only is it not entertaining to watch, it's not entertaining to do. It's kind of a chore, but I mean, can't miss out.
The way the game works is that it's the kind of the carrot on the stick thing, and there's always a reward for something. Be it like the animation is rewarding to see, or just the fact that you have that potential, that chance to get an amazing item, right?
Yep.
And so that's how it works. And yes, you can get some of the best items. Everything's possible.
You have to go the other way, but there's a barrel over here sometimes, so I always break that for gold. I mean, I pretty much got this run down pat.
So the answer to the question is it's worth it. Absolutely.
Show some melee mage gameplay. I could throw something on real quick. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, man.
Do you have anything that you could actually equip? You got to just put on Spectral Blade.
Spectral Blade, Frost Nova, Storm Armor, and Wave of Force. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
Oh, magic weapon, I guess, and I can just shoot people with my...
Pick up Frenzy here.
Alright, here we go. I just changed everything. I'm going to have to change it all back as soon as we're done playing. See what I do for you guys?
1 second. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm not doing anything. I'm killing barrels.
Alright, let's go. Oh, silly, silly King Leoric. You've died so many times in the beta.
I know, poor guy. Not only that, but he's also died so many times before in the first game. He's been dead for quite some time.
I just sit in it. Really not a big deal.
Yeah, I know. Look at that, even I'm not taking damage. I want to let him hit me.
No. One thing that I haven't been able to do is do any like real item farming to try to get high-end items.
It's really a shame that you can only get rare items on your first run through of Leoric. You can't get rare items after your first run through, you can't get a rare item. Kind of sucks.
Yeah, I have noticed that. I mean, it would just become a matter of just constantly creating new characters to get more and more rare items. But I don't know if that's worth it, because I feel like the crafting material could surpass that stuff. Have you noticed that at the higher ends of crafting?
Yeah, actually, I ended up selling a rare ring because I was able to find a better one.
Right.
To be honest with you.
So there you go. Looks like crafting in the beta could very well end up being the majority of the gear. That's something that I'll eventually work into, but it's nothing that I've done. Nothing that I've done quite yet.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Alright, and for some people that were wondering, no, you can't equip the same skill twice to use it in different runes.
Right, right.
I know somebody asked me that before, and I forgot to look.
Yeah, I mean, you can see here, you only have, again, the so many active skills maxed out right now at 4, because the next active skill unlock is not coming until level 18, and you can only get to a max of 13 in the beta. But, this is something else, too, people were talking about in the videos. They said, oh, why don't you use all your skills and just put them on your hotbar? Welcome to Diablo.
Yeah.
You can't, it's not, you only have a max of the 6 active skills. That's it. So once I hit level 24, I can have a total of 6 skills at any given time, and then I just swap out the ones that I want. It's just people not realizing what's going on. I don't want to give them a hard time because they're just not aware of how this game works. So.
Yeah, and actually, while we're here, I know I've seen this question pop up a lot, so come here and trade with me just so people can see what the hell it looks like.
Oh, there we go.
See, you got the gold there. You can put gold in. You can throw items down, whatnot. And I guess you're not streaming anymore, but whatever.
Oh no, I switched it back for that. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, see, I can just throw everything up there. Whatever I want.
Give me that, and you will get thick bracers.
I feel like no.
That seems like a fair trade to me.
How about 34,000 too? How does that sound?
Yes, deal. You have a deal, sir. All right. So
oh God! I thought you just accepted it. I would have just lost so much stuff.
Well, we definitely want to thank you guys for watching. Again, this was certainly a quite an unorthodox podcast with the end up there. But I thought it'd be fun to do that little bit of streaming, and I do hope to do more streaming in the future. I actually have a whole bunch of possible plans for what we could be doing when it comes to stuff like that. I'm thinking about possibly having these fan stream days during the beta. So anyone who's in the beta, we can do like a 4-player co-op and just stream everything, and that could be a lot of fun. And then just maybe periodically throughout the week, just picking various days to do streaming. Overall, I do certainly much prefer posting up the normal content, the 1080p high quality videos, because it is much higher quality than streaming will be. But that's just my personal preference. I like to give you guys kind of the cream of the crop there when it comes to that content. Well, it's been a lot of of fun, Kevin. I'm sure you enjoyed this as well.
Yep.
And as always, guys, we of course thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you so much for following us along in our wait for the release of the game. We're gonna have to wait a little bit longer than we initially expected, but that's okay. Worse things have happened. So thanks so much, guys. For Kevin, this has been Dennis, and we will see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.
It's so hard to concentrate on the streaming and the playing.
Yeah, I know.
And like,
I know.
And then you have to start thinking too to answer questions. And
half the time, like sometimes I noticed I was like, I'd begin a sentence and I'd be like, and I'd just go quiet.
It's so.
Oh right, what am I saying again?
Yeah, you kind of did act like an idiot there. You just stopped mid-sentence like 700 times.
I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I do feel like an idiot.
People don't expect anything more from you though. So.
Yep. At least I'm keeping it consistent, right?